Some will categorize LA Tourist as a gravel race, others will categorize it as a mountain bike race, but in reality you get the best of everything. A little bit of road riding, gravel roads, and mountain bike descents. That was a short excerpt from the LATouristrace.com. And this is the second time that I've done an LA Tourist race, and this time I brought my Cannondale scalpel. Typically with these races, my goal is to hit all the checkpoints and finish the race. I would never ride this stuff if it wasn't for the LA Tourist, and I appreciate them putting on a race like this. Anyways, the route we created ended up being a 67-mile route with 9,600 feet of elevation. Now, I only really filmed the descents, and I ran out of batteries right as we ran out of light, so it was perfect. I'll do my best to explain what trails we're on as well as what's happening. Alright, this is the only road descent that we pretty much did up here in the mountains. This is Mountain Wilson, the Red Box Road, I believe it's called, and this is taking us down to Red Box, where there was the only support zone with water and some snacks. We did wait here for the rest of our group. There were 8 of us. It ended up just being John and myself who finished at the end. John's up there with the blue jacket. We waited, but I got really cold waiting for about 20 minutes to a half hour, and we decided to just call it and leave without the rest of the crew. So this is Upper Gab. We had a decision to make here. We could have taken the road down from Red Box and met up with the Upper Gab later. The black version of it. There is a little road that connects. It's called the Switzer Truck Trail that we could have just jumped on and cut out a lot of this single track here. But we were both like, screw it, let's ride the single track instead of taking the road. Definitely more energy consuming and took more time to do this. But I'm glad that I did, because I have never ridden this part of the trail, and it was really cool to see. Next time, however, for the next LA Tourist, I'm going to try and be the most efficient with the routing and take out any single track that we might not need to do. This little zone here was probably the chunkiest of all the trails, except for a portion that I didn't film. I was happy I had some suspension here, although could have done it on a gravel bike. I probably just would have been a little slower here. Most of this ride was doable on a gravel bike, but I'm glad that I brought the scalpel for this zone. John in front of me is on a Stinner gravel bike with 650B tires, huge ones, and flat bars, and he has the skills to handle it, so he was doing just fine. As we progress further down the Gab, the trail begins to really speed up and open up, and at the time, like I said earlier, my hands, they were really cold, and I couldn't feel my fingers, so braking was a challenge. I couldn't tell if I was braking or not. My gloves were completely wet and cold, and around this time, I started to warm up, which was a good thing. I could start to feel my hands, feel my fingers again, and began to feel more confident on the bike. This section of the trail here is probably the most scenic in terms of views, obviously, and the lighting was just phenomenal. Perfect time of day. The sun was about to set. I'm riding in the shade here, but once we go around this corner into the sunlight, you'll see what I mean. It was just beautiful. A lot of these trails here, they are as they look. You're riding on the edge of mountains, and it's really loose rock, so you really need to pay attention to the trail and not get caught looking out at the view. That's something I learned early on from riding mountain bikes, is you can't just ride along and not pay attention. You need to be fully focused. So if you want to enjoy the view, you should stop your bike and then take a look. Do not do it while you're riding. Keep your eyes peeled and stay focused on the trail ahead of you. The best way to ride this type of stuff, even on a gravel bike, is really ride the inside turns and the edges. So staying as far over to the right as possible when you turn is the best way to do it, and slowing whenever you take a right turn, and whenever there's a left turn, really hug the mountainside. This was some of the most beautiful trail here. This next section here, I finally started to catch up to other riders, and this section of the trail was actually some of my favorite riding. We had to cross a stream a few times, and you'll see later that we crossed a lot of streams here on the Gab. I guess that's a thing. Lots of stream crossings. But I really like this part of the trail. Like I said, my hands were warmed up, and I was feeling pretty confident on the bike. And just the sound of the stream below me, and just the momentum I had going, felt really good. We actually picked up an extra rider here, and John and him are just in front of me, and it was cool to have an extra guy with us for a little bit. We were kind of yo-yoing with him earlier on in the day, and we just all were going kind of the same pace, and he was actually on a single speed mountain bike. There he is right there.
Swamps.
So this section coming up is why I really think this was my favorite part of the trail. Just, we're still kind of high in elevation, but you have this gorge on the side of you, and the sun was going down, and the trail was pretty technical and a lot tighter than the single track we were riding before, and had a lot of exposure, and I don't know, I felt pretty good right here. And I knew we were rolling up on the third checkpoint, and there were 4 in this race, so I knew that we were close to finishing and getting back into the shop in Burbank to finish the ride. So I was getting stoked, and we are also under the pressure of trying to get off these trails before dark, because that would have really slowed us down. We wanted to make sure we were absolutely done with all the single track before it got dark, and we made that happen. We got out right as the sun set, which was perfect. And here are the rest of the stream crossings. Like I said, we crossed streams, man, multiple times on this part of the lower Gab. This is, I guess, if you're from LA, you know about this. I'm glad it was at the end of the day, and not in the beginning of the day. Some people did ride the route that we did in reverse, and I'm glad we rode it this way because it was much colder at the start of the day than it was right now, although it was starting to drop in temperature. So getting my feet wet and my bike wet wasn't really that big of a deal. So right around here is when the battery was about to die, and I guess I should mention I shot this whole video on the Insta360 X3, and John and myself placed 30th and 31st out of 150. Not too bad considering we weren't really pushing. We were just pushing to finish, so maybe next time we'll try a little harder and get a better place. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video, or maybe I'll see you at LA Tourist number 2, March 11th. See you then. Peace.
So we bring to a close the story of rigid control through the unceasing research and the highest quality.